Hello, welcome to the last part of my suspension upgrade and bushes. So, if you've been watching the other videos, I've done the front radius arms, rear radius arms, some anti-roll bar bushes and various bits. Anyway, so the last part of this is Panhard bushes. I'm going to do front and rear. Fast forward to the rear, I'll put in the description if you only want to watch the rear. The bushes at the front for the rear and the back are the same. And after doing the radius arm bushes on the rear with polys, I'm going to opt with polys for the Panhard. I was very impressed with these actually. However, if you're going to stick with standard, which is this bush, it's still sleeved on the Panhard, you will need a press to push them in and out. You can use a bush puller to push them in. I have done that. However, I snapped the bush puller thread twice. So I have actually invested in a press this time. £118 on the internet, which for 12 tons I thought was great, so we'll try that out. So you will need to press these old bushes out with some kind of press. I'll show you how to do the front and rear as I say. And just before we start, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's subscribed. I'm actually amazed how many people have liked and subscribed, and the interaction's great, so thank you very much to everyone who's watched. So under here we've got the Panhard, which is here. You notice it's shaped to go around the diff. So we've got a bolt and a nut. We've got 23mm multi-spline on the front here, and then we've got a 24mm nut on the back. And what I do, I use a breaker bar because you can get it just through the wheel arch, and then I put the ratchet against the chassis up there, not against the oil canister, but against the chassis. And then this side, the nut is captive behind, I think. I've already driven this one out. This one does have a locking pin on it, so it goes over like that with a 13mm bolt. Again, 23mm. You might have to use a 24mm multi-spline if it's corroded and covered in paint, but they are 23. This one does actually have a locking guard. You just have to bend out the way. You can bend it back after. Yeah, I think it's to stop anything hitting it when you're driving. So take these out, and then we'll press the old bushes out. By the way, you can do this on ramps. The reason I'm not doing it in high mode is because I've lent my ramps to someone and someone hasn't given them back, and I do find it doesn't move so much when you come to put it back together when it's on level ground. So follow my way, I'll put it on the ramps, it's up to you, but I only do it this way to stop the car moving too much, and don't lend your ramps to your friend. So we have the Panhard off. I ended up, this is why I always say buy new nuts and bolts. So I got to a certain stage and then the bolt started slipping on my multi-spline. So I just cut it off in the end. I do have, as I say, new ones. So I'll go replace them anyway. This one actually came out okay. But again, look at the head. It's a bit nasty. I'd imagine it's not the first set of Panhard bushes this car's had. So these are the old ones. You can see they're not too bad. There's no play in them, but they are starting to delaminate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a socket, probably. Ironically, I think the same socket I used to get those out actually fits. And then I'm going to use my new press to push them out. Oh no, the leg's falling off. Well, there's no... Hopefully you can see that. Right, so I've given this a little clean. It's come up really well. And we're ready to put the polys in. So these are the old bushes I've just pressed out. Now, you did notice that it did take quite a bit of force before it popped out. It's mainly because I didn't quite have the right socket. So what I did on the second time round, I used the old bush on top like that and pushed to about a quarter to get it started. And then I used the socket to drive the rest out, and then it actually came out okay. So, time to assemble the polys. So I can't hold the camera and put these in at the same time, so that this slides through here. It actually comes in one piece on this one. I'm going to use a little bit of, because normally other poly kits come with a little bit of, I think it's lithium grease. These Brit Part ones don't, so I'm just going to use a little bit of Vaseline. I don't know why people find it weird I have a big tub of Vaseline, but anyway. And then this gets driven into the middle of the poly. I might use the vise just to squish it in because they can be a bit stiff. And then it's just a case of lining it back up into the car. So I'm just using the old bolts to line the polys up. You might find they're a bit tighter when they go back in, like this one needs a bit of persuasion, just because the lip on the polys is a bit wider than the existing one. So I'm just going to push this back up and use the old bolt I cut off to line it up, and then push the new bolt through. So yeah, there's the new bolt and nut fitted. I'm just about to torque it up. It's 200 Newton meters for these. Unfortunately, I've had to put the old bolt back in this thing because the company I bought the new nuts and bolts from only sent me 2 instead of the 4 I ordered. So I'm going to keep this one for the back because that bolt was okay. So I'm going to reuse that, torque that up to 200, and as I say, we covered the light out, and 200 for this side. Okay, and then we move on to the back. So we're at the back now, so same principle as the front. So we've got nut and bolt there. I'm going to put a wire wheel on that and clean that up so the thread comes off nicely, and then we've got another one with a locking pin that end. So same principle. I might actually take the wheel off to get to this one to get better access, but let's see how we go. Alright, so what I've done is we've got a jack at that end, an axle stand in the middle, axle stand there, and the 2 axle stands in the background supporting the chassis, as you can see here. So more than enough support there. Save that one and tyres just in case. Alright, so we're going to undo the clamp bolt there first, and then if you come around here, which is where I took the wheel off, you can see the other Panhard nut and bolt here. If this gives me too much issue, I'm going to cut it off because I do have a replacement for this. Okay, so I will join you once it's off. So there we have it. Here is the Panhard on the rear. The bushes, well, they look like they've seen better days. So for those of you who didn't watch the boot front, in the front, this is the old ones from the front. I'm going to use my press I've just purchased, and if you're going to go for normal bushes, the front and rear bushes are the same, and the part number, I don't know if you can see that there, is that one there. They are a lot cheaper, but I'm going to fit the polys, as I said earlier. I'm very impressed with the polys on the rear radius arm, so I'm going to give them a try. It's not too much of a job to change the Panhard. And the reason why I said to change the bolts, I ended up cutting the head off this one. This one, even though I put a wire wheel around this, it's still pretty corroded, and then the head started slipping, so I ended up just cutting off, and I've got new ones. So let's go and press this out. So that is completely out. It does make a difference if you use the correct socket though. It makes it a lot easier. I was just going to show you, this is the socket I used in the end. I struggled. Sometimes I pushed it out with the old one, but sometimes it weren't strong enough. But in the end, the perfect socket I had was an old one, and it was a one. Yeah, drove it so it fitted perfectly through there. You saw how difficult it was when it doesn't fit properly. So I'm going to clean this up, push the polys in. Remember, if you're going to go for rubbers, the original steel rubbers, I would put these in the freezer first and then put them in the same way. And if you missed it at the beginning, you can use a bush puller. So for the polys, I'm going to push them in. There's a little lip on these, so I am actually just going to press them with a press to make it easy. You don't have to. You can do it if you're strong enough, but I've run out of energy today. So I'm going to put them in here, and then I'm going to drive the steel sleeve in the inside. And this is going to use a bit of Vaseline because Brit part tight and don't give you any lubrication with these. And clean her up, and then just going to go back in. Where did the daylight go, eh? So it's all lined up. New bolt in this side, as I suspected, so I bought new ones, as I said at the beginning of the video if you've missed it. These do up to 200 Newton meters, and then on the other side I had to reuse the old bolt because the as I said earlier, they didn't send me the 4 bolts, although they sent me 2, so I've used the 2 nut and bolt on the fronts and obviously on that side. So just word of warning, when you put polys in, they are a bit tighter because obviously the poly butts up against the edge here, so as you push it down, just make sure you don't let it snag and rip. You can rip them, so just be cautious of that. So just ease them in gently, and the same with this bolt. It's 200 Newton meters, and then it's just a case of putting it back together. So that is the end of that. So that's the front and rear Panhard bushes replacement removal. Remember, if you're going to go for rubber, you will need to press them in, or some sort of bush puller, so don't start the job unless you've got one. Polys, they're a little bit easier, so you don't have to worry about that. You can just push them by hand. Hope you enjoyed that video. I'm sorry we're a bit tired now. Halfway through after the first one, 6 tons of soil to shovel, so I'm exhausted. But thanks very much for watching. Get yourself one of these lights if you haven't got one. They're excellent, especially for jobs like this. They're £10 on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. Absolutely brilliant. Anyway, thanks again. I'll let you know how I get on with the polys on these, and see you next time.